In this demo, we are going to talk about how to host a public application in Cisco Intercloud and then load balance that application using F5 Local Traffic Manager and DNS modules. Before we go into the demo, let's see the traffic flow of what the demo is going to achieve. We have a big IP GTM that could be on premises or off premises, and this big IP GTM/DNS is then going to load balance between the different big IP LTMs present in different data centers. So the big IP DNS is going to intelligently route traffic to different data centers based on either geographic location, availability, or any other metric the client would like to use. Once the client makes a request to the big IP GTM, the big IP GTM is going to respond with the IP address of one of the big IP LTMs, and then the client is going to make a direct request to the big IP LTM for the data traffic. Another depiction of the use case is as follows, where the client makes a request to the GTM, and based on the response, the client makes a connection to either LTM1 or LTM2. LTM1, LTM2 could be on the same data center, or they could be on different data centers as depicted in this picture. Now let's move on to the demo. This is the Horizon portal for OpenStack. Once we log in, we click on Instances to see what all instances we have and what are relevant for us to use. Here we have LTM1, LTM2, GTM, and we are also going to have our web servers to which the application is going to be load balanced. Let's take note of some of the IP addresses. Our web servers have IP addresses in the order of 100.116, 100.117. We also have web servers listening on 100.111 and 100.112. So we are going to use two web servers on LTM1 and two web servers on LTM2. Let's now go and see the network topology. The green interface here represents the internal interface and the red represents the external. External is basically the client traffic. Internal is your server traffic. As we can see, the web servers have a green internal interface and a brown interface, which is the management interface. And our LTM has a client interface as well as an internal. Now let's move on to the Access and Security tab, where we keep note of the floating IPs. Now, why we need the floating IPs is because we want our listener IP or listener virtual IP to be a public IP that the client can reach. So in order to achieve that, we need to map a floating IP to the LTM virtual IP. So we are going to have one for LTM1, LTM2, and GTM. Now let's log into the LTM to see the configuration. If we click on LTM and network map, we see the backend servers 111.112 and we see the virtual IP 0.48. Let's log into LTM2. Here also we see the backend servers as 116, 117 and the virtual IP as 0.54. Let's log into the GTM. In the GTM, when we go to the data center and we see the servers that belong to the data center, we see our GTM as well as our two LTMs. Let's see the pool. We have members assigned to the pool, and these members are nothing but our 0.48 and 0.54, which are the IPs for our LTM listeners. Let's go to the wide IP, which is the URL to which the client is going to make a connection. As we can see, this URL is assigned to a pool, and the pool has the two members we mentioned before, 48 and 54. So this is the IP that is going to be returned once the client makes a connection to the URL. Now let's do a NS lookup to the URL. As we can see, we get a response of a public IP, which is our floating IP, and this public floating IP is mapped to the virtual IP on our LTMs, which would be the 0.48 and the 0.54. Let's make an HTTP request. Here we see the response from our backend server, and this differs based on which LTM we are hitting. A better way to look at this is to do a curl. Once we do a curl to the particular URL, we see the response from the backend servers 116, 112, 117, etc. So this means we are load balancing between LTM1 and LTM2, and LTM1 in turn is load balancing between 111, 112 web servers, and LTM2 is load balancing between 116 and 117 web servers. F5 Big IP DNS or GTM intelligently distributes traffic between different data centers, and the Big IP LTM load balances your traffic between different application servers. This is the end of our demo. Thank you.